All right, Jarrett, you were on that 01 team, I believe, and I know there were pros at every position, but is that the greatest college football team in the last 30 years?
Well, hello to both you guys, and yes, Pro, it's the greatest college football team ever assembled, man. Like, I have a hard time. I look at some of those other names of the teams that you guys listed before, and I get it. And I know it's subjective to looking at the whole scope, right? But when you see 38 guys from a roster go to the NFL, 17 of those were first-round picks. And when you talk about names, it's not just, oh, this guy. We're talking about there were household names inside of the NFL, man. Ed Reed, Sean Taylor was his backup. Jeremy Shockey, Kellen Winslow Jr. was his backup. Those guys were running down on kickoff coverage. Just even in our running back room, it was Clinton Portis, Willis McGahee, and Frank Gore, who ended up being right behind my dad in all-time rushers in the NFL. I mean, the names and the list of names you go down were just ridiculous. And let's not forget, I just saw this stat not too long ago that popped up on social. Said how good were the 2001 Miami Hurricanes defense? If the offense did not score a single touchdown, the team would have gone 8-4. 8-4. Like, I have so much respect for all those teams, even that Nebraska team in '95. Like, don't get me wrong. But when you look at the talent, I just don't know if there will ever be a talent put together that not only was good in college, but also guys that went on to the NFL and made name for themselves as well.
Jarrett, why did you go there with Willis McGahee and Clinton Portis? And why did all these guys, why was anyone attend this college when there's 3 future NFL Pro Bowlers on the depth chart ahead of you as freshmen? I know eventually you got your turn, but why'd you pick Miami?
All right, Maggie is right. She said it because we wanted to win. I'll never forget on my recruiting trip, Vernon Carey was the #1 player, offensive lineman out of Miami Northwestern. He was on the trip. It was me, him, Andre Johnson, Portis, Philip Buchanan, all these guys that, were in the league. And I went to all these other schools, right? Miami was my last trip. And I never heard a group of guys come together as recruits saying, if we come here, we have a chance to win a national championship. And that's what did it for me, man. That's what it made me. My dad told me, too, like before he passed and before I made my decision, he said, don't just go somewhere where you can play. Go somewhere where you can win championships. And that was what I felt like when I was on my visit at Miami. So I came in with Portis. Willis came in after that, and then Frank Gore came in after that. So it was just the luck of the draw for me, and I just wasn't on the right side of luck. But I would never change it for anything because I learned how to work. I learned how to grind out my life, not just in athletics, but in the business world now, in my profession. And so I've learned so much from all those guys that I would never change it for anything.
Jarrett Payton is joining us. He was a member of the 2001 Miami Hurricanes team, also drafted the NFL, played in the NFL, now broadcaster WGN News in Chicago. And we're talking about our great debate series. Today we're doing college football, top 5 greatest college football teams of the last 30 years. And, it's interesting to me, Jarrett, about we tried with some other teams like in the 90s. Nebraska ends up being #1, the 95 Nebraska team. But we were like, is this recency bias? We've got the 18 Clemson Tigers. We've got the 19 LSU Tigers. We have a lot of very recent teams, but I just feel like they deserve to be on this list.
Yeah, I mean, it's rough. Everybody talks about that Nebraska team from the 90s and how amazing they were, the battles that they had with those Miami Hurricanes back in the 90s as well. I think for us, who cover college sports, who love college sports, and what we've seen over time, especially recently, we've had some really, really good teams. And I think of the run that Alabama went on. I think sometimes we forget about that USC run that they had. And although they had some really good teams, their best team might not won a national championship, right? The team that went up against Texas and Vince Young. So, I mean, it's crazy. I think what Joe Burrow and that team, and that LSU team did is offensively was pretty nasty. And, yeah, would it be hard to go up against them? Yeah, but I would take some of those guys like Vince Wilfork and DJ Williams and Antrell Roll and Jonathan Vilma, all these names on that defense to be able to go up against those offense. And I think that's the hard part, but it makes our job so much cooler that we can have these debates. And I'm all for it. And I want everybody that loves their university to have passion and pride. I am always going to go down with the ship when it comes down to defending my Miami Hurricanes, man, because being on that team changed my life, and being with those guys or seeing guys that I know, hopefully we're going to have more guys with gold jackets. I feel like what Frank did and what Andre Johnson did. Shout out to him. It's his birthday today. Andre Johnson, a beast in the NFL as well. These guys changed not only the way that I looked at football, but they changed the way that, swagger was in football as well. And to be a part of it is truly special.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah.
Jarrett,
so you're in Chicago. What has been the local reaction to the Northwestern Pat Fitzgerald being fired news?
It's crazy. And I'm yesterday, sorry I didn't get back to you, but by like 5:45 when the news broke, I was on every single newscast yesterday, and I was by myself. So it was crazy. I think it's mixed emotions around here in Chicagoland area. A lot of people are still trying to figure out and how it hit them with Pat Fitzgerald because of what he meant to Northwestern football, and not only just being a coach, but we're talking about for 17 years. We're talking about also a two-time All-American that had a chance to be able to play linebacker there too. So his roots of being here are very, very strong. I still think people are trying to figure out how this all went down underneath his watch. Not really hearing from him yet, but now that he has got his legal counsel, I think now we're going to hopefully get a chance to really know what he knew and what everybody else knew, because as of right now, these are all allegations. And I think that's the hard part is people are trying to balance, what's right, how the university handled it, to trying to figure out how did Fitz not know this was going on in his program. I mean, for a guy that had a handle. And I think about it, you guys, it comes down to 10-year contracts. When you're getting those type of deals as a head coach, you're CEO of a football program. And whether it's fair or not, you're supposed to know everything that's going on. And when stuff happens under your watch, you're going to get blamed for it. But to me, that comes with the territory. I have nothing but a great relationship with Pat Fitzgerald. It's tough. This is all tough for me. And hopefully that we start to maybe learn a little bit more and what he knew as this process moves on. But it's been tough here in Chicago.
Jarrett, by the way, we're doing NFL on Friday, but it's only
we're doing NFL tomorrow.
Oh, sorry, NFL tomorrow. But it's only the last 30 years. And you know why we only did 30 years? Because if you're going to debate the greatest NFL team, I mean, there's no debate.
It wouldn't have been a debate.
It's out of Chicago, and it's 1985, and I don't care what Miami says. Am I right?
I mean, think about that, you guys. Like, I feel like I'm on the greatest college football team, and my dad, I felt like, was on the greatest NFL team ever assembled. So to me, like, that to me is the coolest thing ever. And yes, that 85 team was awesome. And hopefully at some point, Justin Fields can help us find a way to get back to that feeling again here in Chicago.